And I'm always feel honored to be in this place and with you guys together. There are young children and people here, so I'd like to share something. When I was young, I wanted to grow up quickly, because from my perspective as a young child, I saw all the grown-up people. They have freedom to do anything. They can do anything. Like I couldn't feel it. My parents always told me what to do, and I need to do it. And so I felt like I want to grow up, quickly, so that I can have this freedom. Then now I am a grown-up person, and I have 5 kids. All my freedom is lost. Now I need to change nappies every morning, and I need to put the kids into bed. And now when I go out to eat something, I need to think where my kids like. That I need to go there. My choice doesn't matter. Now it's all their choice, and I need to follow them. So the freedom will never come when you're grown up. But the freedom in Jesus is always with you. Whether you are young or old, it doesn't matter. The freedom is with you. So enjoy it now. Enjoy it now. Don't think like me, but enjoy the freedom you have now. Last time when I was here, I was standing in this place and I was praying. I came here to have this Sunday service. I didn't want to be a spectator. I want to be part of in this service. But then, being a Korean, being in this African worship service, everything was very, very unfamiliar to me, and I was like a little bit embarrassed and didn't know what to do, and I didn't understand all the language and stuff. So I was standing there, I was praying, Father, why am I here? What is that this church got with me? I was asking God and asking all these questions. Then when I pray, I don't like to look down. So as I stood and prayed, I lifted my head up and I opened my eyes. Can you do that now? Can you lift your head and see what's there? There is no heaven here. But then I saw this LG air conditioner, which is a Korean company. And and I thought, right, although I'm Korean and being African church, there's already some Korean influence here. And I just felt like, I've got something, here in this place. And, all right, okay. And, thank you so much sending, Teme and if you know Sanite and Yudit and Eop. They have been really, really a great blessing to us. And working with them, they taught me so much. So I really appreciate you sending these people to us. And hopefully, maybe more. I'd like to share a little bit of stories of Joseph's. If you remember Joseph, Jacob's son in the Bible. And if you have Bible, would you like to open the Genesis chapter 40, verse 8. Genesis, book of Genesis, chapter 40, verse 8. I will read it in English, and if you can follow me. We both had dreams. They answered, but there is no one to interpret them. Then Joseph said to them, do not interpretation belong to God. Tell me your dreams. Tell me your dreams. This is what Joseph, he told these two, one baker and cupbearer. Tell me your dreams. And I was confused when I read this part. Do you remember Joseph? He was a man of dream. He dreamt something. And what did he do with his dream? He was telling people his dream. Come here and listen to my dreams. I had this dream and wonderful dreams, and you must listen to my dreams. So Joseph has always been like a guy who told people his own dream, right? He was telling his brothers, your sheaves will bow down before my chef, and the sun and moon and stars bow down before me. And Joseph had a dream, and he told his dream to others. You guys must listen to my dreams. That was attitude of Joseph all the time. But then here, some years later, Joseph is saying this, tell me your dreams. Tell me your dreams. I mean, his attitude somehow completely changed. He was busy telling his dream to others, but now he's willing to listen to others' dream. And I was starting meditating on this. Why? How? Has he changed his attitude? Then we remember, Joseph's dream. It was like, his brother's sheaves, like bow down before his chef, which means like, as if it's his own brothers. Most of them are older than him, like bow down before him. And Joseph's brother got really, really angry at him, really, because, are we going to bow down before you? No, that's not going to happen. So, they were really angry at him. Then again, he had a dream, like a sun and moon and stars, bow down before him. So, but what happened in his realities? In his dreams, he saw his brother, like bow down before him. But then, what has happened? Joseph actually, was thrown into pit by his brothers. And he was kneeling before his brothers and begging for life. That's what he did. His dream, in his own dreams, he saw his brothers bow down before him. But then in his reality, exactly opposite happened. He knelt down before his brothers and begging, for his life. In his dream, he saw the sun and moon and stars bow down before him. But then what was the reality for him? It was like he went to Egypt. I've been to Egypt a few times. Egyptians, they're like an idol worshiper, right? But because they're farmer, especially those heavenly things, stars and moon and sun, they are the kind of object they worship the most. Do you understand what I mean? So, Joseph in his dream, he saw the sun and moon and stars bow down before him. But in his reality, he became a slave to people who worship sun and moon and stars. I mean, it was so strange. He dreamt something, but exactly opposite things happened to him. I'm sure at some point, Joseph would have wondered, why God? God, why this happened to me? You gave me this dream, this wonderful dream. Then why? Exactly opposite things happened to me. And I'm sure when he was slaving, like working as a slave in Egypt, he would have wondered. When he was in prison, he's got a lot of time to think. And he's trying to look back his life. And I had this dream, then what is my reality now? I'm sure he had wondered about this. But then one day, he found the answer. He found the answer. It was his dream. So he saw himself, stood up, being bowed down before his brother, and stood up, bowed down the sun and moon and stars. He saw himself in his dream. But then he realized, as his reality turns, exactly opposite. He realized it wasn't him. It was God. It was Jesus. He was only a shadow of God, only a shadow of Jesus that was coming. And he realized in his own dream, there was God appeared. In his own dream, there was a meaning of God. Not him being worshipped, but God being worshipped. And he realized in his own dream, there was God. Not him being successful, but God being lifted up. Then he saw God in his dream. He realized that in his own dream, there was the meaning of God. Then he started listening to others' dream. And he started finding the meaning of God, or God himself, in their dreams. That's how Joseph got into these interpretations. Interpretation means like you find the meaning of God in someone's dream. Do you understand what I mean? And Joseph started interpreting others' dream. That's how he started saying, tell me your dreams. The one who was busy telling his own dream to others, now ready to listen to others' dream. And it's amazing how God fulfilled his dreams. It wasn't about Joseph working hard to accomplish his dreams. Actually, Joseph, interpreted this, cupbearer's dream, and then he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. Then somehow, his own dream fulfilled. So there's only one way to fulfill our dreams, is interpreting others' dream. And that's what Jesus did. He interpreted, our dream in God. But then there was another question to me. Now, Joseph has become like a prime minister of Egypt. There was only one man higher than him, Pharaoh himself. So he has all the power in the world now. But what would you do? First thing, what would be the first thing you would do? You got all this power now. If I were Joseph, I would have gone back to my father's house and show myself to my fathers. Father, all these brothers sold me to Egypt as slaves, but now I become so successful, now I'm coming back to your home. Can you imagine how Joseph would have missed his father? His father loved him so much. So we can all see that, Joseph would have missed him so much. And, all the things his brother did to him. I'm ready to punish you now. So he could just go back to his father's house and just reveal himself to all the family members. But strangely, he doesn't do that. He didn't do that. He didn't do it. He didn't go back to his father's household. He could just go back and do the things he wanted to do for many years, but he didn't do it. And I started questioning it, and meditating on it. Why? He suffered so much. He missed all the, father and all the families. But why didn't he go back to his father's home and just to, to everything he could do? Then, once I was traveling with my own father in Switzerland. It was my father's 70th birthday. And basically, my father wasn't a Christian. So he was really against my ideas about being a missionary. So for nearly 10 years, my relationship with my father was broken, because he wanted to be want me to be like a normal person, like get a job and buy a house and stuff. But then I didn't follow his ideas, so it was quite a difficult time with my father, because he wasn't even a believer. I couldn't explain, what I'm doing here, and when I missionary work I was doing in China as well. So our relationship was broken, but then it was 70 years birthday, and God spoke to me. I will bring your family back to you. That's what he has, spoken to me, and so I invited my father and my mother as well. So we traveled together in Europe, and we went to Switzerland, and it was like really beautiful, like a small village, green, like a grass field and very nice house, and we were staying there. And there, my father, started talking to me about his childhood, which I never heard before. And my father was born in 1943. Now he passed away. He's with the Lord now. But then he started talking to me, speaking to me about his childhood. And he told me about how he was born as well. And he told me about his mother. And in my memory, I never seen my grandmother. I've never seen my grandfather either. So I wondered, but I never asked this question to my father. But then he told me this story. When my grandmother was a young lady, like 19, maybe 18, it's old, Korea, like in 1930s, maybe 20, I'm not so sure. But then, in old, like mountain villages, you only have like arranged marriage. You can't have a freedom to meet anybody, right? Because it's arranged marriage anyway. So my grandmother was engaged to someone. But in this guy, suddenly, whatever illness or accident, he died. Then in this small village, my grandmother became very unfortunate lady. And people started, gossiping about her. She's not good. Her fiance died just a few days ago. And people were chatting and gossiping about her. And my grandmother didn't like it. And also I think she has got some strong character as well. So she decided to leave her village. And she came to a city called Daegu. And she was staying in a motel. I mean, it's not, I would say it's motel, but it's not like a motel really. It's like a small lodging place, I guess. Then, she came to this place, a lodging place. And actually, my grandfather was the owner of this lodging place. And he saw this young girl who was pretty. My father was a bit, handsome guy, just like me. It's a joke, yeah. So he saw this young girl, came to his lodging, didn't go out, and no one was coming to see her either. So he realized this girl is alone. Then during the night, he broke into her room and did something. And my grandmother became a concubine of this man because he was already married and had other sons. Then my grandmother didn't have any place, no way to make money. So she decided to be, his concubine. Out of this relationship, my father was born. Then, again, something happened to my grandfather. When my father was like 4 or 5, he got into a car accident. And my grandfather died. But then this family, who has got a lot of money, my grandfather, according to my father, he was quite rich. That's what my father told me anyway. So all this, his wife and all the sons of this wife, didn't want to share any inheritance with this concubine and concubine's son. So what they decided to do was kicking out this young lady and her son. But then it was very poor. I mean, Korea was very poor at those days. Feeding a baby was very, very difficult as well. So my grandmother, she made her choice. She decided to abandon my father and decided to marry again to someone else. So that's what happened. My father abandoned my grandmother, and then he's become kind of slave. It's not really slave, but kind of servant, going around the houses and helping people and just filling his stomach. And that's what my father did when he was very, very young. And he was telling me all the hardships and difficulties he had, when he was young. And in the end, he said to me this: after that, I never, ever gone back to my mother. That's what he said. I've never, ever gone back to my mother. Because that hurt was so deep. Being abandoned by my own mother. I couldn't see her. That's what my father said. He didn't go back to his mother. He just lived as like a servant and slave. And when I see this story of Joseph, by his own brother, he was threatened to death. And his own brother threw him into the pit, like threatening his life. And in the end, they sold him as slaves. Can you imagine the hurt and wound Joseph would have received by his brother? I'm sure Joseph missed his father, but he wasn't there to go back. He could not face this hurt. People who was trying to kill him, like these brothers, he wasn't there to see them again because it touched deepest wound in his heart. Then Joseph, he had a son in Egypt. And the son's name was Manasseh. And do you know what the meaning of Manasseh is? It is written in the Bible. I forgot. I forgot everything. I forgot all the troubles and everything about my father's household. So what Joseph has decided, he decided to forget everything. He decided to forget all the pains, all the difficulties and troubles in his life with the brothers. So he decided to forget everything. And I have seen so many people make the same kind of decisions. In my own training, I've seen people, like they freeze their memories. Sometimes, you might have such a painful, traumatic experience or memories. You cannot live with this memory. So what people decide to do is like they freeze it. Although it's there, you don't feel it. You just decide, it's not forgetting it, it's just decide to forget it. Do you understand what I mean? And that's what Joseph decided. I will forget this. And I will be on my way. But the thing is, when Joseph decided to forget, and he forgot his dreams too. He forgot everything about his past. The pains and troubles. Then he forget his dream as well. So he just decided to stay in Egypt. But then one day, as we know, because of this famine and drought, Joseph's brother came before him and bowed down before him. And do you know what Bible says? It's Genesis chapter 42. I will read it. 42 verse 9. When Joseph saw his brother bow down before him and he recognized their face, Bible said this. Then he remembered his dreams. When he saw his brothers, the first thing came back to his memory, came back to his mind, was not punishing them. It was not about his own father, but it was about his dream. When he saw his brothers, he remembered his dreams. And I feel, when I was talking to my father, it was so funny because my father, he had a dream. As a young man and as a father, he had a dream. And his dream was like, in this beautiful grass field, he wanted to build a small house and just living in this house. That was his dream. With busy life, like in Seoul, it's really busy. It's like London. Actually, it's worse than London. And my brother goes to work at 7 o'clock in the morning and comes back 11 o'clock in the evenings. So it's like people in Seoul, they're so busy making a living, surviving, and competing. So it's so busy. So my father, raising up 3 kids, he was really devoting himself to make money and providing things for the family. So when he was, he had this dream to have this house on a grass field and just enjoying the nature. And the things he could do in this place. But then in Switzerland, although it was only 3 days, we were on this nice house, on a grass field. He remembered this dream, the dream he used to have. But then this dream came with this pain he had with his mother. That's why he told me all these things to me in this house. I realized that so many people in this world, when God created us, He created a dream. The dream only you in this world can dream of. So you were born with this dream. God created a dream. But somehow, busy life in this world, I have to make money. I have these family obligations. These social expectations. We have so much pressures, like duties, and things we have to do. And we just forget the dreams we had. And become just, busy, having just daily life. Just like Joseph was, what he was doing. But what I realized, God wants to redeem the dream. He wants to redeem this very original dream God had put in you. I was in Seattle, in the United States. I was talking to these young university students. And I asked them, what is your expectation after graduation? What are you thinking? And what's your interest? And all these very young university students, 20, maybe 23, 22, they were telling me like, we have to find a job and make money. I need to look for my girlfriend maybe, and my fiancé. I need to get married, maybe buy a house. They were saying all these things. I couldn't see any way forward in our conversations. So I told them, okay, let me change my subject. Okay, money. You don't have to care about money. You've got all the money you need in all your life. Then what would you like to do then? If you got all the monies in the rest of your life, you don't have to worry about what to wear, what to eat. You've got all this money, then what would you like to do? Then there was one guy, as soon as I finished my questions, there's one guy just, he put his hands up and he said this. If that is the case, I'd like to travel around the world, visit all different cities, and I would like to visit all the libraries in the world. I mean, it was a mind-blowing dream. I mean, some may say, that's really childish. You know, we're living in this world. You know, you need money and stuff. But God has put, I realize that, so many people, when I ask, the question I ask to people is this is one of the questions. What is your dream? Not just a dream you made up because you have to make money. But what is this primitive and original dream you have? If you don't have to worry about anything else. And I've seen people saying like, I want to be conqueror of the world. And I've seen people like, I want to build a village. And I would like to call all the people I love, and I want to live together with them. Amazing dreams. Amazing dreams you have. It's not about money. It's not about you becoming lawyer or doctor. But God has put this dream, wild and original and fantastic dreams in your life. But then the business with this life, the expectation others put on you, and your duties, families, as a father or a mother or whatever, we just decide to forget about this dream and just try to live without the dream. When we had our training program, we went to France. Have you ever been to Vimy, place called Vimy in France? It's a place where the area was given to Canadian government. It's in France, but then it's belonged to Canadian government. The reason is that Canadian soldiers came to this area and they fought for France in First World War. And I went there and I saw this sign. It says like the life expectancy, the soldiers' life expectancy who comes to this front line was 12 hours. So when they come to that place, within 12 hours, they're all dying. They're all dying. I'm from Wales. I'm from South Korea, of course, but I live in Wales now. And in year 1904, in Wales, there was huge revival. And that revival touched so many parts of the world. Korea was touched, and India was touched, and Germany and France, United States was touched by this great revival. And all the pub was closed. I mean, if you go to Wales and go, visit this Moriah church, this cartoon on newspaper, the jury, he was sleeping because there's no case. This revival touched the area so powerfully. So all the miners were praying together, and they didn't, miners were tough people. They were always swearing at horses. Those days they worked with horses. But then, horses has changed too. It's so amazing, And this powerful revival, touched so many nations. In 1910, in Edinburgh, Scotland, it was first time to have this World Mission Conference. So all these young people around the world, from United States, from Canada, from Germany and France and Wales, England, all these European young people get together in Scotland, Edinburgh. And they start having this conference about world missions. How can we finish this world mission in our generations? That's what they have tried. Then 1914, as you know, the First World War broke out. And so many soldiers, so many people who fought this war, they were Christians. They were killing each other. These Germans, French, Canadians, Welsh, English, they were all Christians. But then they killed each other. When I was in Vimy, you see this wide grass field. There's endless, really, you can't count it, endless of tombs. White tombstones, endless of tombs. And most of them were Christians. God had given this dream to these European generations, saving the world, change the nations, accomplish the world evangelizations. But then they end up killing each other's dream just died. But Joseph's dream was the same. He dreamed something, but then his dream, died. But then God, somehow in his mighty power, he revived this dream. And I have seen Koreans and Brazilians, Africans, who come with us together to this place called Vimy, and dreaming again about world evangelizations. One generation was gone, just like the generation from Egypt. They all died in the desert. But God has brought another generations, and breathed into them this new dream. The dream the previous generation couldn't fulfill. And I think God has put this dream to each one of you. I was talking to Marik, and I'm sure you know Marik and Emu. And we were having lunch together. I was visiting London, and we have lunch together. And Emu was sharing with me about her experience in Egypt, because she was in Egypt, and she was visiting this prison, and visiting these prisoners and helping them. I mean, they are really in a desperate situation in Egypt, in Egypt and Egypt prison. So Emma was really trying to helping them and doing a lot of good works there. But then now she's married, living in London. She can't, having two kids. Thank you so much. I forgot to bring water. And she somehow, I'm not saying, what Emma is, doing in London is bad, but I mean, she's really living her life here in London. But then when she was sharing about this glimpse of her dream in Egypt, visiting these prisons, trying to help these desperate people, I mean, I could see her tearful eyes. She was almost crying before me, sharing her dreams. And I believe every single one of us, whether you're old or young, and male or female, we all have dreams. Dream of God. When God put in us, and it's before even the beginning of the world. And what is it? What is it? I'd like to finish my sermon today. Tell me your dreams. If you have one, please tell me your dreams. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.